Good afternoon, Crossway Church. This is our midweek update video for Wednesday, May 20th. And you might notice that there's only two of us here today. Steve has not been raptured, and nor has he been fired, but rather he's working on his seminary classes. He's actually in class as we speak, doing 8-hour Zoom meetings every day, so that must be delightful. But we miss him, and we wish he were here, so we want to say hi to him here. So we're gonna put him here. Yeah.
Steve.
Hi, buddy. All right. So there you have all three of us. Okay, so a few announcements here. Moving on to what matters. First of all, we learned about a free milk giveaway. A group of local businesses and individuals are hosting a free milk giveaway. And the event's focus is to demonstrate God's love and support of those in need in our local communities and local farms in these times of hardship. So the group is donating about 5,000, they're going to have 5,000 gallons of milk produced by local dairy farmers for drive-through distribution to the public from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. this Friday, May 22nd. So this Friday, May 22nd, 2 to 7 at CK Manufacturing. CK Manufacturing is 330 Millwood Road, Lancaster, PA, obviously. Zip code is 17603. It's actually Willow Street, but the postal zone is Lancaster, and the zip code is 17603. So that's 330 Millwood Road, CK Manufacturing, this Friday, 2 to 7. It probably goes without saying, but don't go unless you really need it. But if you need it, please go.
And bring cookies.
Yeah, and it's really wonderful that they're doing this in the name of the Lord. They want to show love, and here's a very practical way.
Yeah, that's cool.
So praise the Lord for that. And of course, for our own members, we want to remind you always that we have the care of the deacons available. The church has funded, they've given resources for the deacons, and the deacons stand ready to apply those resources where necessary. We want to make sure our members are cared for. If you are in need, please reach out to your care group leader, and they'll take you to the next step and connect you with our deacons. And our deacons are, as you know, Tom Ekman and Ken Herr, Vernon Stoltz-Foos, and Andrew Odell. So please take advantage of that. The Lord has provided for Crossway Church through this ministry of the deacons. Also, I think you already know by now, but we're canceling this Sunday and next as far as a public meeting. We'll continue to come via online video. We are canceling our Community Day events for June 7, but Lord willing, we're leaning toward meeting outdoors in the amphitheater on June 7. We're taking steps. We're looking to make that happen. Weather permitting, we'll meet on Sunday, June 7 in the amphitheater. We're going to update you with details going forward, at least through the midweek update next Wednesday, or I should say this coming Wednesday. But we might also, we'll certainly do so online. We may send you an email. We'll see, but we'll make sure there's plenty of communication. If we do meet, and Lord willing we will, we're looking forward to trying to do that. We're going to do a couple things we want to let you know about. We'll put a sign at our sign station on the road there. We'll put out a sign that lets people know we're going to meet in the outdoors, and that if they want to see the list of precautions that we're taking, they can go to our website, crosswaypa.org, and see those list of precautions. And so obviously want you also to be aware of and to access those precautions going forward as we plan to meet. So we'll communicate about all that. I want you to know that we're going to put a sign out there. People are going to know, and we may have guests on that Sunday. We'll see what happens. Maybe there'll be an opportunity to share Christ at this time of difficulty and hardship. There was something else.
I can't help you.
Oh no, it slipped my mind.
I'm not your lifeline.
It'll come back to me. I apologize for that. Also, we're canceling, as you know, the father-daughter camp out, just in case you didn't get word on that. We will be having the all-church care group. We're going to have it online. That's Wednesday, June 3. And we'll get you more details about that. We may use Zoom, although Zoom's limitations might cause us to use another service. We'll look into that and see. We're still weighing that out. And then also, congratulations to Matt and Janess Crawford on the birth of their son, Case Peter Ray Crawford. That's Case Peter Ray Crawford, born on May 18th. He's 19 inches, 6 pounds, 12 ounces. Congratulations,
Congratulations.
Matt and Janess. We're so happy for you. We celebrate with you. The Lord is good, giving the gift of life.
Amen.
And then also there is the women's meeting tonight. Ladies, we hope you take advantage of this, 8 p.m. It's a Zoom meeting, so it's not quite all that we'd like it to be, but nonetheless, we're going to have some venue. Ladies, you can join this meeting as early as 7:45 p.m. So I recommend that you jump on there even a couple minutes before 7:43. And it'll take a few minutes to get everything in order there. So just hang in there and persevere with clicking in and waiting for the meeting to begin. Don't wait until 8 p.m. Log in there, click through, and be ready to join the meeting. Now, you did have to sign up last week in order to participate. And we did that because they're going to arrange in groups, and so there had to be some administration. So if you didn't sign up and you wish you could see the meeting, the good news is that Doug's message on biblical discernment will be recorded as long as there's no technical difficulties. The plan is to record that and post it online. So, Lord willing, that will be available for anyone who would like to access that afterward. And also in the email that Krista sent out yesterday with the Zoom link, she shared some extra resources that tie in with the message. So if you missed signing up for the meeting, you can contact Krista in the church office, krista@crosswaypa.org, and she'll pass those extra resources along, or you can call. She'll pass those resources along to you so you can access really the meat and the substance of the meeting for tonight. And also, so you can email, you can call the church office, you can also go to the upper right corner of our website homepage and just click on that contact button and follow through there, and Krista will get the message that way. One way or another, we'll get those resources over to you. Yeah. Well, Doug has a few thoughts to share for us about reopening. So,
Yeah, just as we anticipate, looking now with the potential of June 7 being our launch, our first time together as a church in, I've lost count. I mean, are we going up to, who knows? It's like two and a half, 3 months. I've lost count.
If we meet June 7, we'll have missed 12 Sundays.
12 Sundays.
I think we have two to go.
Basically 3 months. It's a remarkable thing to think that the church has not been together for likely 3 months when we finally do get together. And, I think of a scripture well known to us all, Hebrews chapter 10, verse 23 on, and let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who has promised is faithful. And let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. Now, we've been pressed into a situation, circumstances that have required us not to meet. And we can anticipate that because of that fact, because of that reality, that gathering back together, as joyful as we might anticipate that moment to be, and it certainly will be filled with joy for most of us, there will be some who will come with trepidation or possible fears of having to be around groups of people, and that is totally understandable, and we're going to seek to mitigate those factors as much as possible. But long story short, with all the joys, there are going to be certain aspects of our regathering that I believe, much as a muscle would atrophy over not being used for seasons of time, I think we're going to find that there are aspects of our life and faith that will need to be pressed out, that will be challenged because we're regathering for the first time in 3 months. I think, for instance, we get used to this sense of privacy and isolation and being able to live life in our own terms, in our own homes, in our own comfort, not having to be asked to do things for other people, not expected to show hospitality or to sacrifice in that area, not having to field a lot of requests or situations outside the home. But when we regather, it's going to open up needs. It's going to open up opportunities for us to, yet again, to have to open up our lives and share what we own and just share our time and energy and to give to others what we may have enjoyed keeping to ourselves for a long time now. So I anticipate that that's going to be an area that our own selfishness may be challenged, and pressed out as we begin to regather again. And all the reason why we need to do it. We need to gather. We can't neglect, as is the habit of some, in a bad way, of unbelief, that they don't need fellowship. And that may be actually one of the things that needs to be tweaked is maybe the fact that we've been apart for 3 months, likely, that there's a chipping away of that sense of our need for regathering, our need for fellowship, like a sense that can I live a life of faith and ease without these other people being invasive or being in fellowship with them or asking hard questions or holding me accountable or whatever. I wonder if there's a comfort level that we can arrive at not being around other believers, that we begin to believe we don't need them. So I wonder if some of those very points will be pressed, will be pinched as we begin to regather. So just a call to prayer as we prepare our souls to June 7, Lord willing.
Yeah. When I pray for the church, I pray not only that the Lord would protect us, protect every member, every household from the virus itself. I also pray the Lord would protect our hearts and minds. Yeah. Because I do think there's a chance for independence and isolation to do damage in our thinking and to untether us from the life-giving effect of fellowship. So those are very good words. I did have a thought somewhat associated. One of our great concerns returning to meeting together is the potential divisive nature of these times. And we've already talked about this. We keep talking about, and I think we need to, but we keep talking about the reality that people they're at different places on this scale of how they view this whole crisis. Some view it as entirely necessary, and actually more action is needed, more regulation, more rigors to protect people from the potential deadly effects of coronavirus. While on the other side of the spectrum, there are people that are very concerned about our liberties, very concerned about government abuse, even possibly concerned about conspiracy. And we're not really here to say whether either side is right or wrong. We just know that there are folks on both poles and all the way in between. And I think we want to keep touching this because the potential for self-righteousness, the potential for division among us is great. Yeah. And this is actually a tremendous opportunity for the church to demonstrate the love of Christ in a very powerful way that overcomes division and keeps the church unified. And so back to where we were just recently, 1 Corinthians. In 1 Corinthians, Paul says, listen, I've heard that there are these divisions among you. He says, I've received reports from Chloe's household, people from Chloe's household. And one of the interesting things that he says there is he says in chapter 1, verse 11, for it has been reported to me by Chloe's people, there is quarreling among you. Verse 12, what I mean is that each one of you says, I follow Paul, or I follow Apollos, or I follow Cephas, or I follow Christ. And so that phrase, each one of you says, in other words, this isn't a small group, like most of the church is doing great, but there's some over there that are divided and some over there that are against them. No, it's the whole church embroiled in division. And I think that potential is there for us. Right. We got to face this. We have to deal with this. We can't let what's going on in the world around us, we can't let a crisis of health or politics divide us.
Right. Amen.
And I think if we study this, which we have, and I think we can even focus on a little bit more here, when you consider the Paul, Apollos, Cephas, Christ divisions, well, what's going on in those divisions? Well, I think there's probably theological differences. So people are dividing over theological differences that they shouldn't divide over. We know that there are some that they should. But this probably had to do with we have evidence for this. So some of the issues that Paul addresses, spiritual gifts, the nature of the Lord's Supper, marriage itself, the primacy of love in the church, or resurrection. So those are theological topics. Well, they shouldn't have divided over those. Or what about maybe the style of the different leaders, their style of teaching and preaching, their emphasis in leadership, those kinds of things. Maybe that had something to do with the divisions. We have evidence for that. Paul comes a couple chapters later. He says, when I preached to you, it wasn't with lofty words or the wisdom of men. And so there's evidence of the difference in the styles of these leaders. Was that a good reason to divide? This leader is far more effective than that leader. This leader cares much more than that leader. No, that's not a good reason for the church to divide. Well, what about other issues? Well, there's good evidence in the text for all manner of socioeconomic, demographic, ethnic division in the church. Mm-hmm. So you see differences in the way that those that may have had means were approaching the Lord's Supper, or those that were freedmen, those that have been slaves and now are free, and those that are still slaves, and those that were never slaves, those that were the part of the wealthy class. And so you have these massive social divisions, and probably ethnic to some degree as well, right? You had your Roman citizens by birth, your Roman citizens that became Roman citizens and got their citizenship. You had others that were not. You had those of Greek background and those from all over the world in Corinth. And probably different ethnicities represented wealthy and freedmen and slaves, and as different times came and waves of immigration, all those kinds of things. And once again, are those good reasons for division in the church? No. So what's the answer to the division? Well, the answer to the division is not to know anything among you except Christ. To focus on Him, to pursue Him. Are some of these other issues related? Of course, there's secondary issues, there are tertiary issues in life. And we're trying to apply the gospel to them. But when they become primary, we can count on division.
Absolutely.
And they can't be primary.
Right.
They can't be primary. Love has to be primary in order for us to be unified.
That's right. Yeah.
And so I encourage everyone to lay down, or at least bring a little less strength to issues that the Lord doesn't count as primary. And put the emphasis on the issues that the Lord does consider primary, so that the church can be healthy and thrive. I hope that's helpful to us.
That's excellent. Yeah.
We want to keep cultivating an environment, an atmosphere where we take the sting of self-righteousness out of the atmosphere. So when we're back together and you see different people and they're handling things differently and they hold different perspectives and different things come out of them, that we're able to still love each other and be unified, because Jesus Christ is what we know and what we pursue.
That's wonderful, yeah. I think, I don't know if you remember, you probably were at Hershey Park back in the mid-'80s.
Yeah, I was there, yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the rotary?
Yes.
The thing that you would get into and it would
Yeah.
start spinning, and the centrifugal forces.
I had some friends that puked on it. I did not, but...
Yes, but it's the thing that
You probably did.
Oh yeah, I did, but I didn't
Did you
puke, thankfully.
Okay, all right.
But you're spinning, 1,000 miles per hour, wherever it is, and you're up against the wall. The centrifugal forces, the gravity is pulling you out as this thing is spinning wildly. I think the force of Christ is actually the opposite. It's centripetal, where it's pulling towards the center. That Jesus Christ is able to draw people from either side of this concern. And the things that will divide us naturally and in our sinful natures, things that we'll hold to are secondary issues. Jesus holds the weight and the gravity to be able to pull us centripetally together. And our prayer is that's the case. As this whole situation is spinning around, that Jesus Christ is pulling us together, so that as we regather, we're not finding cracks of division and self-righteousness rising.
Amen. Very good. And I did finally remember that other announcement I wanted to make, so I'll mention that now. Just so you know, we heard through PA Family, through Randy and Kurt, that a good idea, well, we thought it was a good idea when we heard it, would be that before you reopen, that you contact the local authorities, you contact local law enforcement. And at first, your first inclination there might be to say, no, just do it. And then if there's any trouble, then deal with that. And sometimes that is the best way. But the more we thought about that, we thought that's wise because, it's considerate. We're seeking to implement the biblical principle, the gospel principle of what Romans 13 says, which is let every person be subject to the governing authorities. And to appropriately submit to the government authorities as from God, to acknowledge that authority itself is good. How do you apply that principle? Well, here's a good way to do that. We appreciate law enforcement, and so we want to be respectful and considerate and responsive, and local government. So that's a good principle to apply here, and it's a way that we can do that. Now, the good news is if they had an issue with it, if there was a local sort of despotic, someone who's overreaching, we would also have legal recourse, and we would know in advance that there'd be a problem. So we could call PA Family, we could call for help, and they could help us sort through the legal issues and make sure that we have our rights as American citizens, which is an amazing thing that we have rights like that as citizenship, and that kind of dignity to worship together. So, the good news is that Dave reached out to local law enforcement, reached out to the police department, and they responded and basically said, we encourage you to follow the recommended guidelines, and other than that, they literally said we have no opinion.
That's glorious.
Yeah, so we'll take that. That's a good no opinion statement.
Amen.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
well, a couple things to pray about as we close up today's midweek update. Thanks for tuning in. As we've been praying for many months now, let's continue to lift up Ben and Jasmine Brown and the Brown family, and really all the family as they work through Ben's cancer and the treatments that they're going through. Let's continue to pray for Alex Funk, his father Philip, who has terminal brain cancer, that the Lord would comfort the Funk family and even bring miraculous healing. Let's continue to lift up Dan Davis, our brother Dan, dear brother, who has suffered strokes and has Lyme's disease on top of that. He's going through a lot health-wise right now, he and Carol. So let's lift up the Davis family. I do want to lift up Rachel Smith, the child of Gary and Patty Smith, had a grandchild for Gary and Patty. Her son Ammon is experiencing health troubles. So let's lift up Rachel and her son Ammon. And certainly lift up Gary and Patty as they seek to reach out to their daughter and to their grandson. And lastly, Jackie D'Antoni's has been experiencing some health troubles. Let's lift her up as she is going through a lot right now, and pray for the D'Antonio family as they seek to walk her through this. Okay?
Yeah. So, thank you, Doug.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in, as Doug says, and we love you. We miss you. One further note. On the day of the All Church Care Group, which is June 3, we will not have a midweek update video that day because we'll do the All Church Care Group on that day. So we'll hold off on the midweek update.
You.
We'll spare you.
We'll spare a double update,
especially our humor. We'll spare the humor. But we love you. We miss you. We're praying for you, and we hope to be together again real soon. And Lord willing, the women's meeting is something the Lord uses tonight to build up our ladies. We'll see you soon.